These women either prayed their children through to protection. She didn't just create it with her hands, but she prayed him through to protection. And then we have a mother that prayed a son into existence. And every year, can you imagine every year making a new garment? I know how much my boys grew, how quickly. Whew, it was one year, I don't know how we kept them in clothes at all. And they say, moms, there's a trick. If you want your sons to tuck their shirts in, just sew a little bit of lace around the bottom of their shirts. Not a problem. Every year, she would make a new coat for her son, the son that she prayed into existence. And today I want to talk to you about a woman that we refer to as the Shunammite woman. As Kimberly said, during this time of history, a woman's sense of value and honor was directly related to her ability to bear children. But it was a little bigger than that. Her future financial security also depended on her bearing children, specifically a son. And sometimes life just doesn't go the way you want it to go. And sometimes it doesn't take the path that you want it to take. And sometimes your mother's heart and the dream to be a mother just dies and has to be buried. And that's where we find this Shunammite woman. She was a barren woman that had found peace and contentment. She had mourned and buried her dream. She had come to terms with her physical barrenness, but she went a little bit beyond that. It shows the strength of this amazing woman. She had carved out a place of peace and fulfillment in her home, in her heart, and in her community. She is defined as a notable woman of Shunem. Instead of turning in and saying, I have no worth, I have no value, I have no place, instead we find this woman turning out. She turned out so much, and she turned that heart of the nurturing woman out, that she noticed this prophet walking by. She noticed that he traveled long distances, and the Bible says that she persuaded him to come in and eat. She used her passion, she used her zeal to do something in spite of this time where her dream had died. It was buried, it was dealt with, it was done. But here she is. She's turned out. She's seeing the needs of others. She's ministering to the needs of others. And she sees this prophet, and she turns to her husband, and she says, let's build a room. Now, most of the time, it's the women that flip the house upside down. The husband that comes in the middle of the night, and the wife has rearranged the furniture in the middle of the day, and he goes to jump on the bed, and it's no longer there. We are designers and builders of a home, not just a house. So she says to him, okay, we're going to build a room upstairs. We're going to create another room. We're going to give him a place to sleep. We're going to give him a table that he can sit at, that he can write at, that he can study at. Let's give him a chair so he doesn't have to sit on the bed while he's writing. And let's put a lamp. Let's put light. Let's put warmth and hospitality. Have you ever been anywhere up north where you drive by these homes and every window has a candle in it? It's so inviting. It's so inviting. There's a candle. There's a place for him to turn in. And so it came that he did this. He stayed in this place. And wow, she's such a giving, thoughtful, nurturing woman. There's got to be something that we can do for her. I have authority. I have influence. And in the midst of her serving, unaware that anyone was even noticing, that she was gaining more and more prestige and influence, this prophet called her, had his assistant call her, Gehazi. He said, call her in. What do you want? I can talk to the king. What do you want? She's like, I live among my people. And as Pastor Cisco said a few weeks ago, I am satisfied. I am content. I am living among the people that I love and that love me. And I am at home. I am fine. I'm good. It's done. And he talks to Gehazi, and Gehazi says, look, her husband's old, and she doesn't have a son. So the Lord looses in the midst sometimes of our serving in a time that seems so barren. In the midst of our serving, God will see what we are doing, and he will birth something brand new, something unexpected, something greater than we thought we would ever have. And this ministry, if you want to call it, this place of purpose, this child, this thing that she birthed because of prophecy, because of promise, grew. And can you imagine the joy in that home? So much joy. One day, though, this promise died. But do you know what she did? This is so amazing. You've got to go home and read it. 2 Kings chapter 4. She didn't even tell her husband what happened. Husband was working, brought the child in. The child laid in her lap, and he died. My head. How many times do we have things going on in our heads, folks? How many times do things get going in our times of barrenness in our heads? God said, this is what you're going to be. This is what I've identified you. Nature didn't identify you. I've identified you. And we're in the middle of it, and it gets going in our heads, and we think, oh, it's going to die. It's dead. This is what she did. She took every thought captive. She laid that boy in the room that she had prepared. She closed the door. She said, you wait right here. And she went, and she got the prophet. She told her husband, said, why are you going to go get the prophet? She goes, it's all good. It's all good. It's all good. I'll be back. She went to the prophet. He said, how's it going? Is everything okay? Is everything okay? What are you doing here? It's all good. But then she grabs his feet. She said, didn't I tell you? Don't play with me. Don't play with me. Don't give me a promise and then let me get all messed up in my head and this promise die. And he came back and he was restored. Now, this is super cool. There was a famine in the land, if you want to go over to chapter 8. Remember that promise earlier? Hey, can I go talk to the king for you? Remember that? I'm going to tell you something, folks. There is something about serving. God will elevate you. And when there's famine, guess what? This is what it says. At the end of 7 years, she came back from the land of the Philistines. Now, first of all, before the famine even came, the prophet came to her and said, go away. Let me hide you away in this other place because there's a famine coming. I want to preserve you. Because she had been preserving him. Remember that? She created a place. When you create a place, God creates a place for you. Folks, we've got to turn out sometimes. We just got to move out of our own comfort zone. 7 years she came back, and she made an appeal to the king for her house and her land. And this is what the king did because Gehazi, because of Elisha, because of Arum, said, give her back all of it, including the income from the land that she left the day that she left. Do you understand how things build? Sometimes it looks like you're barren. Sometimes it looks like it's famine, but God doesn't forget. God doesn't forget. I want to speak to the parents, the moms, the dads, the children who have felt like they had the legacy of Saul. It's the last woman I'm going to speak about today. Her name is Rizpah. Rizpah had 2 sons. They were the sons of Saul. King Saul was not a godly man. He did not make good choices. Anybody have a circumstance in your life where maybe somebody didn't make some good choices? And his bad choices, his legacy that he left to his children was this. There was a group of people that he had sinned against, the Gibeonites. And because of his sin against them, the Lord had sent again another famine. And David sought the Lord and said, Lord, why? Why are we suffering for these 3 years? And the Lord said, it's because of the sin of Saul and the Gibeonites. So David went to them and said, how can I make this right so God can lift this famine off of our country? Folks, I need you to hear just a little bit deeper right now. There's a famine on our country. Why? Because of the sins of the father. And the penalty was the life of the sons, 7 sons. 2 of them were Rizpahs. How many of you sometimes feel like that legacy has come on you? Moms, maybe you feel. Fathers, maybe you feel that there's just this thing that won't stop trying to take my kids. Her 2 sons, along with 5 others, were hung and killed because of the sins of the father. It was at the beginning of the barley harvest. And she said, you know, my boys didn't do that. That was their dad. She spread out some sackcloth on the ground. Her boys hanging because of the sins of their father, because of a legacy handed down. And she says, Miriam, I'm going to borrow your basket. I hope you don't mind. I hope you don't mind. I need some firewood. Shumanite, I hope you don't mind, but I'm going to borrow your candle. I've got to go burn this thing because I'm not letting the fowls take my boys. They may look dead to you. They may look dead because of what Dad did. Samuel, I'm going to borrow one of your shirts. I hope you don't mind. But no, you're not getting my boys. You're not getting my boys. Beasts, get away from my boys. You're not taking them. You're not going to eat the flesh off of them. You're not going to steal them. I don't care that they look like they're dead. God can bring bones back to life. No matter what my situation looks like, God can bring bones back. So get away from them. You can't have them. Are there any intercessors in this house today? Are there any moms, any dads going to say, no, you can't have them. You can't have them. Mom, when you've prepared all you can prepare, when you've prayed all you can pray, when you've given all you can give, go just a step further. Fight and believe and speak life to the bones. There are people in this house that it's not about your children, it's about your very life. You've got some dry bones, and you're thinking, God, will I ever live again? Will I ever breathe again? God wants to breathe life into your bones today. He wants to bring those dry bones back together. There is life. There is hope. And as Ezekiel stood over the valley of dry bones, and he said, that's the right guy, right, Ezekiel? Is that the right guy? He said, can these bones live? He said, you know, God. Let's stand. Everybody say, you know, God. Speak to the dry bones, he said. Let's pray. Breathe, oh breath of God. Now breathe, oh breath of God. Breathe, oh breath of God. Now breathe. You may have a young child that you have to protect. Build that ark, Mom. Build that ark, Dad. Breathe, oh breath of God, now breathe, oh breath of God. Breathe, oh breath of God, now breathe. Sing the chorus. 'Cause we call out to dry bones, come alive, come alive. We call out to dead hearts, come alive, come alive. I want you to stir up that dream, Mom. Stir up that dream, Dad. Son, stir up the dream. Stir up that heart. Church, let's stir up the dream. Let's pray the backsliders back. Oh, the dry bones come alive, come alive. We call out to dead hearts, come alive, come alive. Up out of the ashes, let us see an army rise. We call out to dry bones, come alive. Oh, we sing it out, breathe. Breathe, the breath of God. Now breathe, the breath of God. Breathe, the breath of God. Now breathe. If you need need a fresh wind of the Spirit, I want you to come on up to the altars right now. This is the place. This is the place that you build the fire. This is the place that we present our bodies as a living sacrifice. This is the place of transformation. Oh, breathe.